Welcome to a late or daytime IHP show, depending where you're at. And it's been a while, so we're going to begin with a lovely intro. Future humans, that would be self-masters. That would be people who know how to self-regulate, and that would be therefore people who know truth doesn't bother us too much. Well, that's if you're grounded in reality, if you're intelligent and enlightened, meaning in the enlightenment soul age group, or enlightened meaning with your higher self. So you're a functional inner child adult. So you know how to wield your nervous system. You also like to learn from intelligent people. So you know when you're given an analysis that is pretty gosh darn interesting. And that's where we're at right now. So I had planned to talk about the emotionally immature people, but I think that what I'm going to try to get us to understand here with some stories is there's self-sovereign people and then there's not. And in my case, I've been self-sovereign and a differentiated self since I was a 3-year-old. So I didn't get broken and I did not fawn at 4, and I do know how to use my nervous system. And the personal and spiritual growth is when you're knowing how to pursue your inner growth. So in the meantime, we have a number of masculines are all the ones that I actually make fun of and that I'm noticing why societies collapse, fail, and their downfall. It's basically the reason the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So that is where emotionally immature, small-minded, mediocre minds, yes, the people who are busy consuming and spending time behaving like that, obviously they're collapsing. No, they're not. But what I was trying to get to is they're not intelligent and they don't have integrity and they don't have strength, curiosity. They don't even have grit because they don't have any of that which involves their authentic self. And when you get to watch them on a screen, well, I'm going to let you know it doesn't get more hilarious. It gets very much, I'm going to say disgusting is the word that came to my brain, but it's simply not impressive. So when I was a teenager, I knew we were immature because the grown-ups taught me that. And then when I got to college, I didn't realize why so many were still immature. Today, I know our adolescent essence, essential spark, social engagement, novelty, creative expression are what we're from 11 to 25. So those who didn't grow the fuck up and basically become their true self by the time they're 11, no, you don't grow up, but if you got the right parenting and the right environment, inside of you, and you maintain your sense of self, that's why the self is maintained by the person who owns the secure attachment. Those who didn't have it, they can get it earned. Now, once you have it, as those who are smart will tell you, you will continue to be exposed to the environment. Yes, all the people out there. And luckily, I know how to differentiate. When I was 3, I still know how to differentiate now. Dr. Daniel Siegel supported me with that when he gave me the tip, which was, Marie, I think you need to differentiate more. When I told him my story of my 3-year-old telling my mom she couldn't spank me because it's my body, and then I went to make my suitcase, he said, wow, that's really great. We're already a differentiated self. I looked it up. I was like, yeah, I was. I still am. So this is the part of why there's a lot of people that I will make fun of, and I want you to understand they're weak. I can't make fun of them in their face. So I get to use the platform. Also, they're not monsters, and any grown-up who would call any kind of kid a monster doesn't know science. I do, and they're a monster. And so if they're kidding is good. Kidding is great, but if they really mean it, they don't know neurobiology, neuroscience. I do, and I know scientists have answers, and also I'm a child of God, and God's perfection is all perfect. But they don't have to choose their perfection. So when they're not moving to the A game, they're monsters. It's not a monster. Stop. That's the whole point. As a mystic, once I moved into having clairs, which are also the same as spiritual gifts, which are also looked into by neuroscientists and spiritual mystic ones, we don't consider God, Akash, source, the technology. But I understand the ones who are from the scientific group and the pseudo-intellectual posturing, the spiritual bypassers, they like to use that word because they have to have an answer to who came first, the chicken or the egg. They're not okay with, if you believe in God and spirit and source, and then all the stories are great and dandy. When it comes to the monster thing, it's because I come with the Holy Spirit, Jesus, and God. And the saying is, all of you can have heaven in the body. Jesus, thank you, and to forgive. I'm following to a T what I was taught by good Christian Catholic catechists. the ones who continue to use the monster and things they don't like and just saying God doesn't need science, those are all a bunch of bullshit excuses for the ones who are completely inconsistent and not noticing. Decentralizing in the self and religious experiences explains how the embodied brain of a person works and how we expand, which also, by the way, when you get to be explained what people are made of, you get to know there's no monster inside anyone. And I don't dehumanize. So dehumanize, when people want to dehumanize someone, they're objectifying. That's called the continuum of shame. So you'll meet when you have emotionally immature, mediocre, small-minded people because they continue to say, but these are expressions, and you say you can express however. If you're funny and you're just teasing and it's an expression, I'll know. If, on the other hand, you actually think that in any child, in any human, there can be a physical meaning that you think that someone is so monstrous in a way of not noticing. So also, by the way, though, I have a hard time with that because I'm being taught again and again by God who chimes in humility. So it's a timber. It's a little, okay, remember, you're all sinners. You're all imperfect. You all have the same self. You all have the same core desire to be welcomed, loved. So stop. Okay, so it's not hard to maintain a level of self-awareness with objectivity, accountability, regulation, and not do the shame continuum so I don't objectify anyone, which is why I don't take sides. I say there's no monster. There's no evil in a way of Knievel medieval. No, there's emotionally mature ones who are intelligent, which is why I love being surrounded by them. Then there's the ones who are mediocre. They're not dangerous. They're actually sometimes irritating, sometimes hilarious, sometimes irritating, and sometimes you think, well, the truth, again, doesn't bother me too much, but I'm a little bit bothered by having to watch the downfall and the failure and collapse of that which is called a bunch of people that are clearly mediocre in their manners and all. And it brings me back to my teenage years when I was 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, met all the cowards I needed to meet, said I'm going to do it my way. Sorry, God, for the few things that I did do wrong. I asked forgiveness. I confessed. I said yes to Jesus, God, Holy Spirit, and I never did anything that Maria would be ashamed of again. No, because ashamed of yourself. That's the part. And when I said, hey, God, no monster, no Lucifer, just a bunch of people that are cowards. Oh, and the cloak people hurt children and they don't go to the law. They need to go and get, arrested. That's it. That's just a very straightforward. They should go to do the right thing. And then why are you not allowing all of us in? Oh, because if you let everything in, it's bad JoJo juju. What, you think you own energy? So when they decided the theologian to make Reiki evil energy, again, I'm like, hey, God, so listen, ignorant ones are actually continuing to use these words in ways. I don't think they know what year it is. So once again, intelligent, enlightened, and that which is grounded in reality people, any of our cherishable beliefs can be falsifiable. We'll take data any day now and say everyone is actually who they are. If they choose to use that which they will define as their own mindset, not destructive, well, cynics, escapists, and not healthy perfectionists. I learned all about what a destructive mindset those arenas are, and the person who talked about it, what's her name? Laura LeCunf, I think. And as she points out, yes, here she is, she uses the experimental mindset. And I'm going to be like, yeah, that's great. I use the inner growth mindset because people who like to do personal and spiritual growth, we get to spend time as we contemplate what we're going to do next. So you're going to be yourself without approval thanks to being a self-master. That is a measure of your intelligence, bilaterally, vertically, overall integrated. Self-regulation. So the integrity is I have character. Yes, not everybody will think I do. Based on their mediocre small-mindedness, when you talk about polyamory, they will think you are potentially a whore. You'll say, no, you're not. They will think that this is where you don't know how to love. You will think nothing of it. The monoamory community that are open-minded know that no one owns love. And when people want to say society needs to be monoamory or polyamory, you say, not really, no. It's just that every human being on the face of this planet will want one securely attachable figure since we're mammals and the bear will eat us. So it's explainable by science again. You don't like the data point, it's not because love is mathematical. No, actually, love is amazing because it's of all. It's unconditional. People who say if that you love all, then you don't love anyone. That's my point. They don't know what it means to be a self that is sovereign and says, excuse me, did you just say you think I believe in God because I'm afraid of death? This was my teenage boyfriend. No. I'm going to marry you. No. So he had effective realism like a bunch of other people do, which is where their feelings are like facts. I was broken free from it by the time I was 8. So intelligence means you're objective and aware. You don't objectify people. You know, I got an ego, they got an ego, 3-year-olds. And when they get pouty and stingy, there's a teenager who's being all, basically grandiose. People are cowards. So are the ones who think that grandiosity is amazing to look at. And then there's also delusional. Yeah, a lot of people are living a time that is no longer, but I digress. So, long story short, at this IHP show, let me continue. You're not too upset by the truth. So, when you do know what's happening, I know what's happening in the world. I've seen choice points. It is not personal, but it stings a little because you think, wow, so much potential for A gamers. The ones who want to be it, obviously they're going to be back here, and then we notice the ones who don't want it. And so unhealthy shame is where people are ashamed of being human. They're ashamed of the things that take place. And I say we're bountiful to make mistakes, but if there's one thing humanity has always done, the ones who are smart, the ones who care, is to continue to wake up in the morning, hopefully, and put their best foot forward to make the world a better place. And no, it's not hard. So you don't get weighed down by life. You see what I'm saying? And in my case, I'm lucky because I got God. So being a spiritual mystic one, the ones who reject me, I'm not actually upset about that. If somebody walks out the door, my decency and my character has not been touched. In fact, my worthiness consistently maintains itself because I have a whole society of intelligent ones, and mediocre people are the only ones who actually think they're right all the time, without noticing that they use the word integrity, character, trustworthiness, and then they don't even know how to have that which is called an open heart, compassion, and the grounded in reality sense to notice that they can't live in someone else's brain. And the minute you're dehumanizing anyone or anything, you are basically distancing yourself, which means you're objectifying, which means that you're in a shame continuum, which means you're not mature at all, nor intelligent. So intelligent minds are intelligent hearts, because otherwise you can't be intelligent. The masculine is only empowered in divine masculine when it has the feminine. So we're not a delusional idiot or a judgmental asshole. We are a curious child with an indulgent parent. No, you're a fascinated human being who has all your child parts, all the essence of you. Luckily, you have the skills of a mature parent. So you have securely attached, healthy self-worth. So you know what healthy everything is. And that's why when you see mediocre assholes on screen who look like teenager versions of all the teenagers I met when I was a kid, it's wow. I'm so unimpressed. And I have such distaste in my mouth. No, I don't. This is the part I don't. It's partly disgusting, but then it's partly understandable because I know that everyone has different ways to handle life, and they actually escaped life completely, and they didn't go reclaim their authentic self, and they fawned at 4, or they had the fight at their 0-1, whatever it was. They never went to get securely attached because they don't believe in good therapy. And they didn't continue to work with their functional inner child adult with someone until they were finally healed from thinking humanity is broken and yucky or something. Oh, parents are all imperfect. We're all imperfect. That's my point. So there's no monster inside a child, inside a person. There's the bear that is very scary to die alone with, which is why anyone will want one securely attached figure. If you're emotionally mature, you will know that love is always present in all your relationships, but above all, the true partner that is, or partners, it depends. Again, nobody is going to say it's easy or it's hard, because anyone who truly loves someone is not going to be because I'm afraid of losing you. That's the part of what true love is. You're confident to know that it lasts the test of time, because that's where you're not going to be afraid unless you don't trust people. Then again, 50-50 is what every human being is, right? And life. That's the whole point of uncertainty. But you're going to have to choose if you're going to put both feet in or not. And that same thing goes to yourself. You're never going to get it right, and you're not pleasing and appeasing anyone when you are a human being who says, this is who I am. I don't change who I am because you don't like it. Actually, that makes no sense. Why are you around me? So the authentic people don't pretend to be themselves. They are themselves. I began this when I was a kid. That's what I'm trying to get to. And when I see pretenders on a screen, it disgusts me. But then I have to say, I'm so sorry for you. You lost yourself. You didn't go reclaim yourself with a good therapist. And I get to watch you, whether you're spiritual bypass or pseudo intellectual posturing or some moron. I get to be the one who says, wow, let me go watch someone who's smart. That's better. Get the smart ones who are. And so I do a little bit of this and that. And that's what I'm trying to also let you know. And when it is personal, meaning like, wow, I'm going to have to be aware that I will be made fun of in a number of ways. Well, it's okay. I will stand and be aware that every one of us can make mistakes. So the part about making mistakes and that it doesn't fall far from the tree. It's more integrated brains. That would be great. More integrated brains means more people who know how to have fun with those who are immature. Physics, you're confusing science, spirituality. No, I'm not. So that's a human being who just intervened telling me I'm doing something wrong and not, because I actually am a conciliant approach person, but also science and spirituality come completely together. And that's why integrated brains are going to be here, not the other ones, because they consistently don't like that we bring it all in. And it's not their fault. It's a knee-jerk reaction. Like my knee-jerk reaction to assholes means liars. I'm an asshole for a different reason. So when I speak the truth, I try to avoid speaking truth to people who don't want to hear it. I don't want to waste my time. And so usually I will work with my words. And when someone says you're playing, no, I'm not. I really just don't want to lay it out to you the way that I would, because I was told by therapists that that's not accurate. That's not my place. So I'm trying to be polite. Is that okay? If you really want the truth, I can tell it to you. Then you have other scenarios where I'm like, dudes, if you don't stop fucking with me, I'm going to spell it out to you in a way that's going to make you very upset right now. That's one of my friends. We play around all the time. But yeah, every 24 hours, yes, they count. So make sure that you are using that which are the inner growth mindset, routines, habits, your lifestyle, the thoughts, interests. Allow yourself to surround yourself with more emotionally mature people because they are intellectually savvy. And then you'll also spot the pseudo-intellectual posturing people who still have really great analyses to give you, by the way. And then when you see the mediocre ones, I mean... Oh, it's a bunch of teenagers. They're all boys and girls with the same gender stereotypes, the same awful words. No, the same ignorant words and the same insecurities. And I'm seeing teenagers with the same level of insecurity. So it's good that they have two teams to choose from. The emotionally mature human beings who won't pretend to be themselves. And then if they choose that they're lazy, so they don't want to go and do that which is called work with the therapist to get their mind, embodied brain, to become theirs. Because see, to me, you're lazy if you're not going to go take ownership of that which is your embodied brain. It's not a monster, and it's not a good or bad decision. You're a lazy person who's deciding that you don't want to get good habits because you've decided that you'd rather do it that way. I'm playing with words again. So see, here's where lazy. Some will say there's no laziness. There is laziness. I'm going to say, if you ask a person who has an A game on because you own the sense of self, it's lazy to not go to a good therapist. But the therapist will say that 3-year-old isn't in the lead. They got a 16-year-old who's spiting their own home because they're afraid of their own self, though, because that's where the first 3 years of life matter, which is why I don't call anybody a monster, because that's not nice. And so when science explains to you how all of God's children are perfect, you don't care who's going to reject you because they think you're wrong. And then who's going to want to label you and label and use all these labels. And it's like, oh, wow. So you, again, don't know what humans are made of, yet you want to continuously use words to group them up, but you're not even an owner of yourself. Let me try again. No. So when you speak to people who are emotionally immature, they're blinded by their own egos. They are biased. They have all of it. I have mine. I become aware of them. I do my best to, if I'm in a conversation, be open to hearing so that we can expand and have a good time. Because I'm not trying to prove trustworthiness, credibility, character, none of it. I'm having a conversation. I'm randomly interacting with that which are pieces of information, knowledge, preferences, beliefs, not beliefs. This is not a competition. So, again, 5D mystic, spiritual, mindful, loving people. Welcome aboard. Being yourself, self-mastery. It's the smart way, stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. When God gives us the opportunity to empower, strengthen, support, and encourage each other, it is not by giving you a monster to deal with. The people who still use those words are the same people who need a good team and a bad team, because that's what a teenager does who's not their true self. It's a performance. So my facade friend, who's the one story that I consistently will share with you, is an asshole. And so when I think of these mediocre, small-minded people, he's the first who comes to my mind. You know why? Because since as a kid, I'm like, I'm not going to stand down telling you how I think, how I feel, what makes me comfortable and uncomfortable just because all the group over there doesn't like it. I did a small, short life as a teenager. The grown-ups had told us about it. I said, sorry, God. I learned from it. I never did again. You don't go against that which is your integrity. Now, if you're forced to, there's a whole different stories, but again, you will begin to choose, I'm not doing something that makes me uncomfortable. And it's not because I'm right or wrong. I'm going to take a look at it, but I'm pretty certain it's going to have something to do with that which is called my own self and how I want to be and speak. So again, you don't have a rigid way, but you will continue to present the wholeness of you, and you'll continue to tune in. And with the inner growth mindset, you explore and then you understand and you achieve your sweet spot. And usually that's the growth that's coming. So the part about being able to accept the truth, which you might not like, and in this case, I'm not telling you guys what I, Maria, am looking at. I got my aha moment today, but it's not a big deal. It's a sad reality that I have come to become aware of. Not only it was a couple years ago, a couple years back, if not, it's a recurring. So now it's come full closure. It's, you're going to have to accept this. It's the done deal. Like, you're just, this is, and it's, thank you. So, God makes sure to help you understand when there are things that you care about, that it's okay to let it go, meaning to accept that that's how it's happening. It's like when I didn't think 3D, 4D would stick around, because I believe every person and every place can get their A game on. That's why when I was saying the lazy thing, to me, anyone who doesn't want their A game, you're a lazy ass. That's it. My facade friend, he's a lazy asshole. He didn't go to therapy. He's not that bad. Yeah, he's not that bad. This is the part. Yeah, he's great. He's awesome. He's selfish like any other person is. And emotionally immature people are selfish because they talk over you. You want to hear the story? So I can be selfish too, but the difference is I'll be an actual asshole. I don't want to give it to you. I don't have my time. I'm so sorry. No, I'm not. I'm not sorry. I have 24 hours. What do you want from me? I thought you all would grow up. When I began to grow up and people were like arguing with me about time, I got shit to do. I'm not trying to exclude you. Why are you being so? This is where you just begin to think, what the heck? So when you meet those who are emotionally immature, just learn to be calm. You learn in time. You don't do the let me cut you out of the herd. That's very sad and unnecessary. Like Michael Yapko points out, like really people just cancel each other because they don't know how to negotiate and talk and just, okay, we're a little different and get over it, and so it's not get over it. It's the talking and arriving at mutual understanding. But long story short, my facade friend, we hadn't talked for 5 years. I wasn't friends with him for 5 years. The regulars know the story. I won't tell you the whole story this time, but if you're new. So we're friends again, and at this point, I have been Twin Flame 1, 2, 3. He knows all my clairs. He knows everything about tarot, my downloads. Actually, he's one of the first ones that I read to because I just picked up cards because someone made it seem like it was impossible to read. I was like, you're coming from a magic star. Like, you can't be that. It can't be that hard. Like, you're intuitive. I saw your energy. I felt your energy. Like, this is not hard. So I just started to read tarot. And that was after just looking at symbolism, numerology, and I got to, I first got the playing cards, and then I started to get more tarot. Anyways, long story short, my facade friend, it's 3 years after we've become friends again, and I've talked to them about all this stuff, and they actively we're in a group talking about God, and all of a sudden, out of his mouth comes, I don't believe in God or in anything at all, and it's because we're with a bunch of other guys who are also saying the same thing. Or I don't know, but I never heard this come out of his mouth. All these years we've been talking, the whole 3 years, all our lifetime as friends. So the conversation we had the 5 years prior, I never asked you to be anything except for yourself, to my facade friend, which is why I'm trying to let you know, fake people, this is what I call immature weak ones. They're cowards, they're lazy. Are they lazy? No, they're afraid to meet themselves. Are they? No, they don't go to therapy, they go to Boca Raton. So the part about taking accountability for your own nervous system, becoming your whole self, it's done effectively with those who care to be their self, and you'll know who they are. The ones who are just playing a role, you'll know who they are too. It's not a good or bad team. It's whatever the people will choose. I will call the group of people who are cowards, not lazy. Their body is definitely in still whatever took place. It's their choice. It's personal. And if they don't want to do it, nobody can make them. If they're following the law and all that other stuff, you're not going to make someone get their self online, which is sad. They don't get to meet themselves to get their core wounds healed. So to me, it's a sad story because they don't actually ever boss up. And they don't actually boss up from here, not the words. Here is where you feel so if someone walks out of this door and tells me I'm a piece of shit and they mean it, I'll be sad, but I won't crumble, because my worth isn't based on your mouth. And the fact that I live a life according to that which I know are values, and I've decided and I have made consistent choices. I take ownership of it, and I haven't done anything I'm ashamed of. That doesn't mean I'm perfect. It means that I will know how integrity works. So you will know that those who play with these words, by the way, that's, to me, I'm immune to it, because you can't actually come to me, insult me, because it's your opinion. I'm going to have to take it. Sure, I'll listen to it. That's it. I'm done with that. Okay, cool. I guess if we're going to get along, if not, whatever. And so from here, though, you don't close your heart and you think, oh my God, I just met some asshole in a real way. So we use words, but it's not, they don't weigh down. So my facade friend, this thing comes out of his mouth, and I'm just in like shock, as he's never spoken once. He's betrayed me again, meaning he's lied once more. So I wait till we get in the car and I look at him, and I'm like, all I have to do is be yourself. And I'm yelling at him, and his face is like that. Today I'm attachment trauma educated, and I know about people not owning their body, subconscious stuff that comes up, their sensations, images, the behaviors, affects, meanings. Really, they don't own their 8-year-old, like my facade friend, and their core wounds. So they're still pretending to be a good boy and good girl and good everything, and I'm not your parent, and I'm not anyone except for a person who's saying, just be your fucking self. Have the balls to be who you are. And my friend's not understanding it because he doesn't own the sense of self. Like when I told another person, there's no energy vampires, and they're like, no, here, let me explain it to you. And they're still looking at me like this. Okay, you know what? You told me you're with a therapist. Once you're done and you own the sense of self, come back around. I'll explain again. You'll understand what I'm saying. That's how it works when you know what you're talking about. And when you see a blank stare, it's, oh, you don't own your nervous system, your sense of self. You're not yet empowered. You're not a boss up, any version of yourself yet. Self-sovereign people, grown-ups, actual grown-ups, emotional mature people. But we got a bunch of emotionally immature grown-ups who are the ones who are mediocre. They're not dangerous, but you better bet they're out there. So with that being said, my facade friend I love to death. It's not a better team or a worse team. It's some people will bring their A game on, and they will meet themselves, and it will be an honor to be together, and we will continue to expand, and we will continue to thrive as a species. Our globe will continue to be fine. Not everything will be as we want it to be. That's how the world works, 3-year-old. But the other group does not need to be equated to monsters or any of that. So those who are divisive, they're divisive, which makes them, number one, weak. They backstab each other, they lie, they do all this shit like Diego's family and like emotionally immature people do. So they're not hard to understand at all. In fact, the divisive ones are very easy to understand, which is what makes them not intelligent. It makes them fall and fail miserably, and that is very much a straightforward equation that intelligent people who are not pathological will be able to know. Which is why when you have intellect, you have everything. Knowledge is what empowers, but it's not pseudo-intellectual posturing. It's knowledge that is being used by an integrated brain that knows what they're assimilating, and then knows how to do an analysis, and then knows how to pause, think about things, notice choice points too. And here's where our prophets, our gurus, I've seen things. I don't say it because I don't have to, because I'm not trying to claim a place, a role in a way of calling to my cauldron people who aren't actually, one, self-sovereign, two, understand that everything is always at play. But really also it's because people who are looking for that type of information are in a specific state of unhealthy fear. And they're already thinking about things without the science, without the academia, without the actual information. They're looking to someone who's going to give them something. And so I'm going to pause because personal and spiritual growth. A person who is self-sovereign, who has 2 hands, 2 feet, God's perfection is great. We know we can work with everything. There's not a battlefield. We are not trying to imagine a battlefield up or down. We're not using our ancestors' prophecies from the past. Okay, so the 5D collective is in the present, is what I'm trying to bring to you, mystic spiritual. So our downloads and channeling, they happen. We just don't make it into our mission to have to present it, because we also know how to pause and to wait for it, because there will be those times where it is of value for the whole to share it, but there's a lot of times where there isn't any value necessarily in sharing it at all. And the ones who are seeking for those types of pieces of information are very much, again, in a specific journey. So 3D, 4D is going to go over there. But 5D is going to be a little bit, yes, upset. Every time we get to be upset, we get to expand. That's called irritation. So you build more dharma, not the bad karma. So you can talk about good karma and bad karma, but our planet is in dharma. So higher self, every 24 hours counts. We're processing with our ventral energy, with our ventral vagal state. So you're doing eustress, and that's why you're expanding. You can have decentralizing in the self, with or without the religious experiences, and you expand. You don't become closed off, but instead you move into more. So like when I got Twin Flame 2, then I got Twin Flame 3, that was the moment of, I was like, no way, Jose, no way, Jose. Then when I got all these other things taking place, I'm like, no way, Jose, no way, Jose. And finally, I'm expanding as I'm understanding how this is going to support me to share on topics that involve expanded polyamory, monoamory, 5D mystics, and spiritual ones who don't give a shit about how the words are used, who don't think their science and spirituality don't work together. They do work together all the time. The ones who don't think of our ancient prophets as knowing everything, or the ancient books as being the text of the way it is. That we have books, but we add that to other stuff, and actually we don't use necessarily to align all of what they spoke. So you're in the now, and you are connected to that which is Akash source, Sunny Mundi. If you're mystic spiritual, if you're mindful, you're a higher self who's proactive. You're grounded in reality, so you take information seriously. You know you're going to learn things, and then you're going to make a decision, and you're going to do it at the pace that is comfortable, and you're going to do it with the knowledge that you want to support growth, love, expansion, and that's where it's always easy to do that. Whether it's small, big, you're always going to make a difference if you're choosing to bring an A-game legacy and leave behind something. And that's the part of why every person is important. It does make a difference. As for the big globe, this is the part of where it's a bigger picture deal, and things do move in ways that I have seen, and I have asked, and also have answered, and I will continue to say I'm settling into some information. So we might have something more special for you at a certain point in time, but not today. In the meantime, thanks for stopping by. Have a good one.